All right, welcome, one and all, to another Best of 5 series here in the PCS Spring Split 2022. We are in the final round of round 1, as it were, in the playoffs here, and we have got a match that I am very much looking forward to. Make Beyond Game and trying to climb their way back up the standings and back into that bracket after losing earlier in the week up against Impunity. Hey everybody, I'm Pyra, he is Clement, and our sponsors, they are CTBC Bank and of course Caliber. Thank you for making the PCS possible. And also, I would like to extend a wonderful shout-out to our broadcast partners, Carry Live, Riot Games, and Garena, for making this all happen. Now, Clement, it's been 3 days of playoffs. We got one more to close out the week. Are you excited?
Of course I am. I'm always excited for the PCS coming in here. And this is one of those matches where I feel like Impunity, with 2 weeks of time, could cook up some very interesting strategies. Creativity has never been something that they have been lacking.
Absolutely, and they're going to need it, right? Because despite the loss against Deep Cross Gaming earlier in the week, Make Beyond Gaming haven't dropped against Impunity. They have looked pretty strong, but they haven't always looked the most coordinated. And I feel like those are the weak points that a team like Impunity can certainly try to exploit, but it's going to be difficult. Every lane, they have a tough challenge. I think a lot of it might hinge on that mid lane. We did see Minji get a little bit exposed last week, and this week rather, without some of his more favored champions, without the Ahri and the Akali. It's an opportunity if Faith can still hold him back, but that's tough.
Exactly. You know, I feel like a team that we're seeing for like Impunity, they are very similar to MFT that we saw from yesterday. They love their wombo combo team compositions. They are very explosive in the mid game, but it is that laning phase barrier that has kept them down. They are the 8th place team overall. This will be their debut in the playoffs. And if you think about their highest caliber win, it's been against Frank Esports, which is still coming in as the 7th place team. So to be frank, they haven't been able to really surprise anyone on the upper side of the bracket, but it's never too late to start.
And it certainly would be the best time to do it right about now. Impunity in their debut here in the playoffs. They are looking to be the upset squad here, and if they can knock Beyond Gaming out of the losers bracket here, that would be, honestly, that would be massive. Considering where Beyond have come from in the previous year in the PCS, the hotshot rookie squad coming in, being the number 2 seed, going to Worlds and all that jazz. But things have changed a little bit here. It's got a little more competitive at the top of the table, and even in the middle, and even at the bottom, I would say, in some of these instances. So Impunity, it's a tough task, but maybe they'll be up to it. Here are the playoffs, of course, as they have unfolded. Deep Cross did beat PSG earlier. CFO beat MFT, who dropped down to lose to Frank Esports 3-0 yesterday. And we'll have to see how this is going to shake out, and we're going to get a few more answers. But here is our starting roster for tonight on Make Beyond Gaming. It is Liang in the top lane, Husha in the jungle, Minji on the mid, Wako and Kino to round out that roster. No major surprises there. Beyond Gaming did do a little bit of Lee Kai play, a little swippy-swappy. It may happen, but not in game number 1.
Yeah, I definitely expect this to be their go-to roster across the board. The question was Lee Kai going to look a lot better with those 2 weeks? And I think the answer was not really. I feel like Liang was still the stronger performer in the matchup against Deep Cross Gaming. And as you mentioned, all attention really on Minji. Beyond Gaming, they had a really good late game composition. They honestly didn't need that much from Minji. They just needed someone to wave clear and put a control mage. Like, if you're running a 4-1 setup, that's what you expect. But they just never went with went with the control mage. I'm very shocked of that case, and it just seems like they are running 2 strategies at the same time without a lot of cohesion coming from the mid jungle that are very early game focused, while Liang and Wako are much more late game focused with their hyper carries and with the split pushers.
Yeah, being pulled in two different directions is never a good thing when you're a team that's trying to make your way through the postseason. And I kind of feel like something has to give here, Clement. Maybe they decide to go all in on the early game this series. Maybe they decide to put Minji and Husha on something different. But even when he had a chance earlier in the week, Minji played a Twisted Fate game. Didn't look very good. Maybe it'll be enough, though, to overcome their opponents tonight. Impunity Esports, they are Quiet, Taco, Faith, Blaze, and Kralix once again will be starting in the support role, but has not found a win with this squad. So that, I mean, take from it what you will. It does seem like Pinway had a little more success, but perhaps they've seen something in Kralix that they prefer.
Yeah, I have to say Pingwei from the eye test and from the stats was probably the better support, and especially the Rakan pick coming in from Pingwei, giving them 3 wins throughout the split. That was absolutely massive for them. But also Kralix has been the one to stick around the team a lot longer, and he is playing in Singapore. So if you're thinking about shot calling, you're thinking about team cohesion, those might be good reasons why they are running Kralix over Pingwei. Now, in general, Impunity, as we've said, very much a mid-game wombo combo team fight comp. Their best champions have been that Galio, that Jinx, and Pingwei's Rakan. So you get a general picture of what their strategy most likely will be like. If I'm coaching this team, it's probably to strike before Beyond Gaming's late game pieces can really come online.
Yeah, now our comparison will be in the top lane. Now, Liang, who has had a pretty decent split for himself, even if he has had to share a little bit of time there with Lee Kai, has been showing up. He does like these side lane split pushers. He does like to dish out the damage. We've seen his Graves, we've seen his Tryndamere. A lot of them draw bans, in fact. But on the opposite side, Quiet, even though he shares some similar champions, he's probably been the linchpin for a lot of the success that this team has had. I would say he does put up some pretty decent numbers. I think he holds his own in a field that is pretty tough. The question is it going to be enough against the likes of Liang here tonight?
Ooh, that's a really tough question, and I would say that Quiet, his best champions have been the Gwen and the Jace, even though it's not showing up right here. He can actually outduel the lane really nicely. I feel like his stats do come from he's very cavalier in lane. So I feel like the best way to play with Quiet is to give him all the jungle resources necessary. I feel like if you look across the board, the top lane for Impunity is the lane most likely to challenge Beyond Gaming in the laning phase. For their other 2 lanes, stat-wise, it does get a lot rougher. So I do expect a lot of Taco versus Husha to happen in that top side.
Yeah, and all things considered, too, Quiet is the one who dishes out the most significant portion of the damage for his team, so I'd love to see him on one of those carries and just take the skill matchup. Galio banned out immediately by Beyond Gaming, also a Lucian as well. And this was one of those picks we were thinking about, Theorycraft, and that this is something that Faith could use to try and neutralize Minji. But they are taking notes on the opposite side, too. The Ahri banned away. I'd love to see the Akali hit the ban column, too.
That would leave the Zeri up for Wako. I don't think they're crazy enough to do that just yet. I'll be honest, I feel like Akali is somewhat acceptable for Impunity. I still very much expect the Zeri ban to just come out here.
That's Tryndamere, something completely different.
Oh, okay. Tryndamere's... This is very interesting because I feel like Tryndamere is actually one of the champions that is somewhat counterable given Quiet's champion pool. And you could see Liang right there already going for the pistol gun hand movements right there. And it will be a Zeri straight up lock-in. This is very surprising. Impunity, they do run the Kaisa, but not the Draven or the Tristana, which we've been seeing as sort of your go-to answers to the Zeri.
Yeah, I'm curious to see what Impunity are packing. They clearly had to know that this was going to be a pretty quick lock-in. I believe it'll... I want to double check. I think it might be Wako's first of the split. I don't think he got a chance to play it early in the playoffs.
Yeah, well, if you want to find out if he can play it, it's always best to do it at the first game, I would say. Impunity, though, they get a lot of their good champions on the board here. Both the Rise and the Jinx, I think, are their linchpin champions to their compositions. As we said before, they're really about Wombo Combo, and when you're running Wombo Combo, you want to get a lot of resets. So Jinx has been the most played for Blaze. On the other hand, Faith is much more of a utility player. His main job is to engage for the team, so the Rise fits that bill really nicely. Beyond Gaming, I felt like they came in with a number of very interesting bans. I feel both the Lucian and the Rek'Sai, these are bans that you would not think about if you just look at the regular season. It feels like Beyond Gaming definitely have some scrim info or some solo queue info for these bans to go through right here. And to no one's surprise, they will just lock in the Akali. For Beyond Gaming, it really isn't about the composition, it's about the mastery.
Ooh, we got a Nidalee for Taco. This is an interesting champion choice. Definitely looking to try and get some early snowball. And Taco has had some games on champions like this. Everybody remembers that Zed game where he was styling on kids. So run down the gauntlet here in game 1.
Yeah, this is super interesting, but I don't really see it against the Lee Sin. The Nidalee versus Lee Sin matchup actually isn't all that good, especially post 6 where Lee Sin has a lot more of that burst potential. What I'm looking for with this Nidalee is for them to set up good kill lanes with point and click crowd control. So I love the Renekton ban from Beyond Gaming. That would probably be your go-to top laner if you want to run. It's an OG combo. Renekton plus the Nidalee is just point and click. You flash on a top laner and you can just kind of insta kill them with the javelin toss to follow up. So really nice bans coming in through. And for Impunity, the support bans are also kind of interesting here. They're taking away the Nautilus and Alistar, so that pretty much leaves the Leona left for Kralix. I think that probably is the go-to to kind of get the same effect. This is not a jungle dual Nidalee like we've seen from Canyon. This is most likely for maximum lane kill pressure.
All right, well, Taco's going to need to help set up his lanes, too. That is, of course, where it will be very important for Impunity to try and outlive and outlast Beyond Gaming, who have the potential to bully them on the sides. Ooh, boy, that is a little out of left field here. We got a Vigar locked in when we've already seen the mid laner.
Okay, so this is some interesting tech against the Zeri. You know, you don't have a blink on that champion, so it's going to be difficult for her to get out of the cage. But at the same time, Vigar is, it tends to be very hit or miss. Like, if you get snowballing in lane, it's incredibly powerful. The burst damage that can come through on that champion basically negates the AD carry. Like, the AD carry is forced to play very, very far away. But it also is a champion that can get snowballed quite hard, and if you're playing from the support position, you don't really get to stack onto your passive. So we'll see how they execute this one, but Impunity are coming with a strategy that is actually completely counter to what we expected. This is actually a bot lane focused strategy coming out from Impunity, and I will have to say this is probably why they're running Kralix as well. You know, you really need 0 ping between that combination. If you're running ping wave from Taipei, that probably makes your 2v2 a little bit weaker. And Impunity, they have not disappointed. There's a lot of creativity here. There's a lot of kill lane potential in this bottom side. Beyond Gaming have to play super careful.
That they do. It's going to be an interesting startup. I really love what Impunity we're bringing in this composition. It's very risky, but you know, at this point, you're in the playoffs. You are the last seed. You got to surprise your opposition, and that's what I love to see out of this squad. It's not about, all right, we're going to try to play standard, because they're going to most likely get beat in that situation. They do give over the Akali, obviously a bit of a risk on the Zeri as well, but they clearly had something prepared for it, and we will see if it is going to be enough. In game number 1, that's always the time to try and throw your opponents off too, right? We do see teams able to snowball off a lot of early game shenanigans in a best-of-5 series, throw your opponent off. That tilt factor is real, and this is an important one. This is an elimination match for both these teams, but the pressure is probably lessened on Impunity given the fact that they were the last seed into the playoffs. The expectations aren't quite the same as they are for Megabank Beyond Gaming. Coming into this game, a lot of power picks for that squad. Will they be able to roll over the competition, or will it be Impunity who take their first win of the playoffs?
The hopes of Singapore are riding on Kralix and his Vigar. This entire composition is basically built around the identity of Vigar. They gave over the Zeri, they gave over the Akali, and their answer was, we're going to counter it with the Vigar. You know, if you drop the event Horizon, Akali actually gets stopped mid shuriken flip, so you can't prevent her from going in. It also stops the dash as well. You know, in theory, it could work out, but the level of execution needed is quite high right here. So we'll see if these 2 weeks and all that practice has Kralix prepared to make the Vigar shine.
Well, we have seen Impunity improve on their teamwork over the course of the split, and even coming into the start of it compared to their iteration last year, we were always talking about how this team had better play together, if you will, even if they aren't all in the same physical location. Let's take a look at our summoners and runes and masteries and all that good stuff to start us off today. We do see that not anything too surprising, although, I mean, normally I wouldn't see a Vigar in the support position, but I'm like, okay, yeah, I can see that.
Semi-tank Vigar just to get over the laning phase. The 2v2 still could be pretty dangerous, especially early on. You don't really get that event Horizon. You do get it early on the Vigar, but you can't really expect to land a lot of these skill shots here.
Now we got level 1.
And as I say that, Taco just shoots one straight in the face of Kino here. And I like this idea. In Impunity, they are definitely aiming for a split map angle. They want to have the potential to dive this bottom lane potentially early on. So I like this. But it seems like Beyond Gaming are trying to fight for the vertical.
Yeah, this is interesting right now. Red buff is going to get started by the 3-stack, and Wako jumps in. Would love to get an early kill on that Zeri, so we're straight up fighting for this one. Faith also looks to cut off Minji, and Red buff's just going to reset. Nobody's in the lane except the top laners on a full island here, and Impunity haven't really been able to find much. I think they're just going to bail out and let the full reset happen.
Well, Taco's still staying around to deny the 1v1. At the very least, he can't let the enemy jungle just straight up start red. It would be a massive advantage on their part. So, even though they don't get the vertical, they do slow down the jungle pathing a little bit. They get vision on this one. It's not a terrible situation, though they do lose a couple of seconds on the pathing. I still like the idea overall, but Beyond Gaming, I think, with the correct idea that Impunity were not going to go all in for that one.
Yeah, good read on that. So we kick things off. A little bit of a farm advantage just based on the early times to get back here. And Kralix does find a nice early stun on Kino. It's a good pokey lane. They are going to try and get that Jinx as fed as possible. And putting all the chips down on Blaze, I think, is a strategy that coming into the season, we kind of expected to see even more from Impunity. But clearly, he has been one of the better players on this squad. I would argue Quiet probably has shown a little more consistency there, but maybe a little bit harder to try and snowball in the meta where hyper carries are still the #1 contested pick.
No, I feel like Blaze in teamfights has been nothing but spectacular. The question is just about the laning phase. Their bottom lane has been, honestly, I think the weakest bottom lane in terms of stats outside of probably Sem 9. So it's been really rough. They're down about 1,000 gold at 15 minutes. But if they can actually have a good early game, I think that changes the calculus quite a bit. So I do expect... Ooh, Blaze gets caught though.
Yeah, forced to flash away already. Didn't actually burn his cleanse, and they will try to turn some damage here. Kino actually taken very, very low. Wako straight up in the cage, but he's completely isolated. Ooh. He's forced to flash back. That actually ends up being a worthwhile trade for Impunity.
Really nicely done on the back end for Impunity right there. But we do have Lee Sin down there as well, so they will have to back off right after this one.
Okay, spear dodged out by Minji. Well, Quiet, taking a little low here. Gotta be careful, buddy. Holding on to his flash if he would need it, but Liang is going to chase him away. The hammer is mightier than the shotgun.
Nicely done here by Liang. Quite also very low on the mana right here. Kralix does have the flash, but I don't think he's going to go for this one just yet. And yeah, we do go into a reset situation with Impunity looking to stop these backs. Ooh.
Did stop it back, didn't hit the damage, but yeah, those spears, you start thinking, if that lands, if that connects, does Taco want to go in for the dive? Looking to try and push this wave in. Wako is a little bit low, but so is Blaze, curiously enough. So keep your eyes on Taco as he makes his way back up to the mid lane. Minji, though, sitting pretty under tower. These are two pushing lanes right now for Impunity, and they have options. Not something we usually say. As Rune Prison goes down, Minji flashes, tries for the outplay here, as Faith tanks 2 tower shots. But he's going to be out. Meanwhile, back in bot. Okay.
Don't have a kill there either. Just taking a look at the summoners, Impunity. They don't burn anything, and Husha, he is starting to fall behind. He spent so much time trying to equalize the bottom lane and make sure they don't die out that he is going to fall behind in camps. And if you look on the side of Impunity for Taco, he still has a lot of camps to go to. So, even though that was the chase down that seemed to be a winning trade for Beyond Gaming, we have to take the jungle into consideration. Ooh, as we are.
Gotta take the top lane as well. Oh no, knockback Quiet, trying for the outplay, needs another auto, and he gets it and burns the flash of Liang as well. Impunity opening up with the kill.
I feel like Liang thought he was playing with Phase Rush. He was trying to get the knockback on Quiet back into the tower, but there was no speed up right there, and Quiet able to kite out for the solo kill. That was also a fight that Liang, he actually went for that himself. It wasn't necessary for him to go all in, but he thought that he had the angle, didn't find the correct knockback, actually took Quiet outside of the tower range, and Quiet just turns around with the beautiful kill. We'll watch that
Yeah,
again. Oh, Liang
boy.
even burns his Shock Blast cooldowns right here. He's looking for the angle, but doesn't find it. Yikes.
Oh, and man, and then Liang, when he's already too deep, he burns the flash, thinks he can get out. That's insult to injury, but it is looking great for Impunity up in that top side. We did mention Quiet as being a player that should be able to take the 1v1 up against Beyond's top split pusher. Oh boy. 2 pushing lanes in a first blood. Not a bad start here for Impunity.
Yeah, and if you're Impunity, you have to feel so happy about this start. The first time they faced Beyond Gaming, it was a 23-minute affair where the lanes just kind of collapsed early on. This is a completely different story. As we talked about, the biggest weakness for Impunity has just been laning phase. They're actually fine in terms of macro. I feel like their macro is actually a lot better than Meta Falcon team, in all honesty. I feel like they make a lot of sense in terms of their rotations and where they put their players. They are much more of a veteran team compared to Meta Falcon. So I think this is great for Impunity. The mid-game to look forward to. They still have a lot of very strong periods right here. We're looking at the next potential play will just be that Realm Warp onto the back of the bottom lane. You put the event horizon down, it's basically open season for Faith to find those overloads, for the Javelin tosses to land, and that's coming up very, very soon. We already have Faith at level 7, and Minji at this point still doesn't really have the threat over in the mid lane.
Yeah, now to try and cut that off, I think Husha hanging around here towards the bottom, actually going to go into Taco's jungle. Does have a level advantage on the Nidalee, and if they don't spot this out, we could be in for a bit of a dive. In fact, I don't think they do. Wako baiting this. He does get stunned, immediately cleanses, and in comes Husha to the back. They take down Blaze, get the stun off onto Kralix. Should be looking at a second kill here for Wako, and he does. But what can Taco get back? The answer is nothing. Oh boy, he might lose on this one. Oh dear.
Oh, they
There we
still
go,
find
the
the stun?
flash, everything. Ultra Shock, he managed to get a little bit of extra damage there on the ult, dodges out another Javelin, and both get away with that one, but Beyond Gaming pull off a really nice back of the lane behind the tower dive.
Yeah, absolutely insane stuff right there. Taco was on the right side of the map, but was unable to interfere, and this is sort of the problem I was talking about running the Nidalee against a Lee Sin. A level 6 Lee Sin can actually just do that to Nidalee, because you don't have to respect the Nidalee. You win the 1v1 100% of the time, like if you find the Nidalee. So he's just willing to go for a super risky route. He dodges across most likely the pink ward that they know they're there, and they don't understand that Wako is baiting. That was some, that was probably the most telegraphed bait I've seen from Wako, but it works. And they get Impunity members to stay around regardless. This is just an extra flash burn on the side. Meanwhile, Minji might be in some trouble.
Yeah, he could be right now as Kralix and Taco actually roaming in there. Husha a little bit late to that party. Minji already down to half health, and Sonic Wave misses, but the Zenith Blade doesn't, and that Vigar is stopped up for days. Going to go down, and it lands into Minji's pocket as well. Beyond are finding openings here, and what were we saying about the laning phase, Clement?
I feel like that laning phase edge is pretty much gone. I feel like Impunity's strategy right now is a bit in tatters. They can't really force a kill onto the top side, not with this setup. And if the Vigar doesn't work, as we said, it does start to snowball quite negatively. So,
oh dear! Oh no, they sniffed a little too far forward. They're going to lose at least one, maybe even more. Quiet's coming late, and what is going on? Impunity, they're just making bad decision after bad decision.
Yeah, Kino even able to intercept that one. A really good prediction on the support's end. And I'm not really sure what the plan was for the two-man engage right there. They hand over extra kills to Beyond Gaming. You can't do that if you're going up against Akali, you know? Akali's definitely a champion. If you can keep her down, then she kind of fades from existence. But feeding her kills like this will be very dangerous, and Quiet is next on the table.
Oh, talk about getting baited. He flashes forward, and he's going down. They didn't even need Husha. He must have seen him coming there. And, oh dear. 5 kills for Beyond Gaming, Clement. After the first blood, 5 go back unanswered, and it seems like that was all it took to wake Beyond up.
Quiet really needed the collateral damage to go off right there. Because the minion wave was untouched, that's just a straight tower, and Impunity are forced to hard trade into this bottom side. You can see the pings going down. They know that Faith has to come down and equalize this push, but can they find a surround? Minji's already around with 2-0-0 on the kill board, and yeah, Faith just can't walk past the Akali to make this play happen.
Taco just hasn't been landing these spears. I mean, you have to make those things count. Sure, there's the good old zoning spear, but if it's dodged that easily, you're just not a huge threat. There's not a lot of CC coming in from the jungler, so you can keep your eyes on the Vygar and wait for that cage to come through. Shelly finishes off the tower up top for Beyond Gaming, and they just get a couple of plates in answer. Meanwhile, Blaze even takes a tower shot off that, or at least some auto hits, and it's just, this investment's not paying off.
Yeah, it's been one tower play for a full top lane tower. Definitely not what they wanted to see here, and we see at 11 minutes, Impunity already facing a 3,000 gold deficit. I don't feel like this is a comp that actually has that good of a mid-game identity. This comp is definitely much more about just equalizing the top solo lanes and trying to punish the bottom lane to the maximum effect. So, unfortunately, I feel like Impunity just will be sort of lost in these next couple of minutes. They don't really have a composition that can fight for Drakes in this situation. I feel like they just have to wait until Beyond Gaming ventures into their own jungle and hopefully punish them with their chain CC.
That is a very specific win condition. Unfortunately for Impunity right now, they really give themselves a hard time by just falling for a series of baits and just getting run around the map a little bit. We do have a Cloud Rift as the Infernal goes down in favor of Beyond Gaming. There's our gold graph right now. It started out pretty decent, but things fell apart pretty quickly once Beyond cottoned on to what their opponents were trying to do. Unfortunately, the early game strat just hasn't paid dividends here. Now, Taco, runs straight into Husha and Kino, who are just running rampant in this jungle, and Italy does not have a whole lot of answers at the moment.
Oh, he still
gets
the
does
blue?
Actually steal the blue. Okay, that was pretty cool. I'll give you style points, Taco.
He does lose the jungle control, but hey, he gets the objective in the end, so
that's the moral victory.
Exactly, really well done. And I like what Impunity are doing. At least they're trying to force some trades. They know the bot lane is a lost cause, so they will go top against Liang. But Liang's actually spotted this. They have the wards, and Liang is just trying to bait for as long as possible.
Okay, and the Solar Flare lands down. Husha looking for the kick, does actually find it into the wall, but Husha bit off a little more than he could chew, and here comes Faith. Now maybe they can get them on this one as the Realm Warp comes in. Kino will be the one that gets left behind, and they do claim 2 kills back, as Impunity have shown they've still got some teeth.
That was a great play coming in from Faith. He was able to cut off so many points with his teleport and his Realm Warp. He cuts off the escape route back through the tower and then Realm Warps to the left side to make the trap work. So really nicely done right here, and it's just such a smart fake out from Faith. He actually goes top lane. He shows on the ward, but is still able to make the play bot. So that's basically one Rise in 3 positions on the map at the same time. Really nicely done by Faith over here. You could say that Husha forced this a little bit too hard. Just a little bit, I think is got
a little overhyped. But there's a lot that's been happening since then. Taco just getting chewed through by Wako here, and that is going to be at least 1 kill. Kralix a little bit low, and they go in once more for for Blaze as he tries to get the outplay. Doesn't manage to do it, but they're still playing for this one. Wako's really feeling himself on this area right now, and look at those low health bars as Blaze and Kralix are trying to dance, but Leon goes to the skies to take him out, and that Vygar is not long for the Rift. Beyond Gaming are just playing with their food a little bit here as they will take another tower. It's just been an absolute bloodbath in this bottom lane.
Yeah, most critically, they don't find any of the major bounties on the side for Impunity. We still have Minji and Wako with 0 deaths here, so the trade still goes into the favor of Beyond Gaming. Quiet will get a lot of resources, but I just feel like this composition it's rather difficult for him to do much. Like, he's gonna get outranged. There's an Akali there that could snipe him down quite easily, so the gold on the Graves isn't all that effective. We're going to take a look at what transpired before this play. It just seems like Taco going back to their main game plan and trying to shut down Wako, try to get plays fed, and this is a 3v1 tower dive that they don't fully commit to because of the members roaming in. Taco just Well, he just gets left out. That's definitely a animal abuse right there. They just
Yeah,
left
no,
their
that's
pet cat to die.
that's some big game hunting though for the Zeri, and you see Wako looking for even more off the back of it. I like how we were starting to go into a live look and seeing maybe a fight unfold, but it just was like a quick kill, and we were just like, nah, it's not worth it. We don't need to show that. Replay's more important.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, it's 9-4 in
right
kills,
now.
Clement. It's a 4,000 gold lead for Beyond. I mean, they're looking pretty comfortable here. The carries have exactly what they need. They've got a little bit of a lead in some of these items right now, or at least they will soon enough. They certainly have it in the gold at the moment. And Minji and Wako have just had a great game for themselves, despite the early seeming like they were getting set behind. Liang is going to be caught in the Vigar cage, and Taco jumps in! Does go down. A good shutdown lands into the pocket of Blaze right now. That's going to be Kino and Wako running for the hills. Quiet's going to join up too, and it's an Impunity 5-stack.
That's some old man Flash coming in from Leon. Actually flashes on top of the cage, gets stunned anyway, and falls down to his death. So a little bit unfortunate right there. Again, it's good stuff for Impunity, good trade for them, but it's not on the key members with the bounty golds right here. And in the meantime, we still have a Herald going over towards the side of Beyond Gaming.
Beyond are a team that really like to split and do a lot of different things, right? I mean, this is one of the things we've criticized them for, but it's also one of the things that is a strength of theirs. They can get a lot done on the map at the same time. They just get stretched a little thin, and Impunity do find an opportunity to get a kill as a result, and ooh, Wako and Blaze trading a little bit of lightning there. Ultra Shock Laser.
This is something we do have to watch for, is that Impunity do have the ability to just outright burst one target. If they can land the Event Horizon onto Wako, they can follow up very easily with the Javelin Toss, with the Primordial Burst to just kill one target, and I think that's how Impunity have to go into these team fights. I like the concave that they're setting up, but they have to be careful that Kralix cannot be caught out. If Kralix is forced to use his abilities on Kino, then that doesn't work.
And the fight opens up right now. They actually do find the route down onto Kino, and Blaze is completely isolated. That's not what you want to see with your AD carry. So they lose one quickly, as well as the Dragon. Taco just can't find the spears he was looking for, and that's going to be a Herald popped in the mid lane. The siege has begun here, Clement. Leong looking around the side, trying to find an opener to soften them up. They will be able to take the tower down, looking for the chase, and Leong goes to the skies. Taco turns him back, but not for long. The cage comes down, but it's just too little. It's just too late. And Beyond Gaming are controlling the tempo. Taco getting hammered into oblivion. And another auto attack is all Leong needs to actually do it. A big shock blast into the Zeri ultimate. And they've opened season on the last few members of Impunity, starting on this inner tower. Gonna have to walk away from it, but it is a massive lead for Mega Bank Beyond Gaming.
Yeah, unfortunately for Impunity, they do sort of bundle their best chance at getting back into this game right here. I love the positioning from Kino. He was able to stand his ground, walk forward, and basically split apart the sea of Impunity members. And I think, unfortunately, Impunity went the wrong way. They tried to go over and converge on Kralix, and they left their main damage source, Blaze, completely open. Minji gets the freest solo kill of his life. And that's just a 5v4 into the fight, you know. Jace at this point does a ton of damage. There aren't a lot of tanky members that can take Shock Blast or even just take one for the team on the side of Impunity, so they're not going to be able to survive these siege situations. And now we have Zeri in full force. This is the most scary part about Zeri and why she is almost perma-banned even through all of the nerfs. If she gets ahead with her mobility, she's just too hard to kill. I also love the build right here. We have seen some Zeris just go for the traditional crit build, but when you're facing the burst potential coming in for Impunity, I think going for the Titanic Hydra and picking up the extra HP is definitely the way to go.
Yeah, give yourself a little bit of heft for sure. And yeah, this area is going to be able to snowball, going to be able to get a lot done on those side lanes as well. And Wako's going to be having one heck of a game here. Let's see, Minji. He's a little isolated as they try to get a kill onto him, but Fate's not really close enough to take him down, and Taco has not been that accurate on these spears, so I do worry a little bit if that Twilight Shroud goes down. Here's the dodge, turns in, dashes. Ooh, talk about some perfect execution. Minji is out scot-free.
Yep, and on the other side, this will be a tower being taken down. I like that Impunity are constantly trying for comeback mechanics, but hey, if those don't work out, you do get punished onto the flip side. There's no real chance of defending this one, and Minji will go straight back to split pushing. Beyond Gaming, I think they're very comfortable at just taking this in a 1-3-1 fashion. They don't have to group. Both of these side lanes are very far ahead at this point, and it's up to Impunity to find the perfect engage. The classical answer to a 1-3-1 is you want to engage on the 3 members that are trying to defend the mid.
Yeah, but you got to be careful. If you do that and you get stiff-armed, you don't want to lose out on the towers. I suppose the silver lining is they've already lost all of their side lane towers, so they technically can't lose anything except their base, right, Clement? That's how that works.
Yeah, it's exactly how that works. It means that Beyond Gaming are easier to punish, but at the same time, it also means that it will be difficult for them to hold on to their jungle. This could be their chance, though.
Okay, it's a 1v1, though, and there is a level advantage for Quiet, but he kind of executes a bit. A pair of teleports coming in. Quiet already taken down a little bit low as he goes back on the collateral. Faith is there, and so is Minji, and they actually both back away. So, teleports burned on both sides. We'll see if that's going to make a huge difference in the next couple of minutes. We do have another dragon spawning in about 1 minute and 10 seconds. Chasing down Husha. No spear.
Still some really good chances for Faith to make these collapses. I think once he has the stasis down, we could be seeing very daring attempts to catch out Wako. He can go into the back line, he gets the Rune Prison, even if he takes a ton of damage, he can just stasis up, and that could be a potential way that Impunity will catch people out. I feel like there's definitely a chance for them to get a couple kills onto Wako, get a shutdown, and try to take the game for there. The only, I think Beyond Gaming, what they're playing for right now is not necessarily for the kills, it's just pushing Impunity to the brink in terms of shoving them into their own base and then turning around towards the Baron. That's kind of the game plan for Beyond Gaming right now, and to be honest, this early on, it still gives a lot of opportunities for Impunity to kind of punish.
It does, but you got to be careful not to get bursted, though. You can see that Shock Blast clipped Blaze and does just so much damage to him. He's got the Phantom Dancer as well, trying to play a little more defensively there, and Husha does find all 5 members of Impunity, and Liang does as well. Again, this Jace is starting to sting. Kino gets caught, flashing forward. They get the baby cage down. Should be able to lead him, but wait just a minute. Here comes Minji and Wako. The cavalry have arrived. Liang actually gets the kill credit on that one. Inner tower is going to fall in the mid, and that makes it a round 6 for Beyond Gaming. They've secured everything outside of Impunity's base, and they're heading for Drake.
A little bit of desperation from Impunity, not the target that they wanted to commit upon. They go straight for the Leona, but Kino is able to get that W on, and with the extra resistances, just survives for way too long there. We'll watch this again. I'm very surprised that they actually fully committed to this one, as Kralix walks right into auto attack range from Wako. Minji and Liang both in position to pick up those kills, and you know, the good attempt, I would say, but they once the targets wasn't really there for them, I don't think they should have committed for the Kino pick.
No, they didn't even get it to. So insult on top of injury, he doesn't even burn his flash. He soaks damage for days while his team just tags their way in. And again, Minji, Wako just looking so good. They can threaten wherever they want, the high mobility. But it's really Liang that is the one that's getting a lot of these cleanups on the kills. He just dishes so much damage that Eclipse really putting in the extra work in addition to his other items. All that lethality on the Jace is just so deadly because they can burst out these squishier members. There really isn't a true tank outside the Rise, and he's only got 2 items, Clemens, so this is a team that's not all that big.
Yeah, and I think Faith actually made the right call here. The team's actually lacking damage at this point, so he needs to get a little bit more oomph to punish 1-3-1s, find collapses, and Impunity are still trying. Credit where credit is due. This is exactly the play that they need to do right now. Hope someone just wanders into the bot side and catch him out. They don't really have a good chance of defending this Baron anyway, but Beyond Gaming, they will call off the bot lane bluff, and
oh no! Taco is going to be trying to get over the pit a little bit too late, and that's going to be a kill fed right over to Wako, who has a dominating streak, 15-5 at 25 minutes. Beyond Gaming get themselves a Baron buff, and Quiet can't even herd those minions into the base while that's all happening. It's a massive lead for Megabank Beyond Gaming.
Certainly is here, and we could be seeing some attempts.
Okay, they got a 2-on-1, but Liang is still able to flash to safety. Oh dear, it's just nothing's working out right now. Minji goes into stasis. They will be able to find him for a second, but just not enough to burst. And look who's tagging in. It's Wako. Minji comes right back, and it just looks so beautiful. Absolute ninja skills on those fingers. Getting back in, getting the kills as well. Wako cleaning them up, and that's going to be inhibitor number 1 here. You have to think there's more coming, as Impunity are running out of members fast.
Yeah, that's the thing about support Vigar. If you don't have a good early game, you don't really get any stacks, and you could see that there wasn't enough burst damage to take down the Akali. Beyond Gaming are just streaming forward to close this one off cleanly.
Having a little bit of fun with it. Taco comes up, Taco goes down. Quiet walks it out back to his own fountain as Kralix comes up with a teleport coming through. They're just going to finish it right here, right now, looking for that final kill and looking for that final Nexus turret. Quiet and Blaze still trying to defend. That Jinx is still a threat to be reckoned with, but not when everybody else is there. They don't even need to step up to the fountain to secure the ace and take the base for game number 1.
Super clean game coming in from Beyond Gaming. I like the strategy from Impunity. I like their level 1 to go into this one, and they did have an early game lead. We saw Quiet with the solo kill in the top lane. For the most part, Blaze and Kralix were actually winning their lane. They were up in flashes, but that one huge mistake where both of them stayed and got baited out by Wako, and then you saw Husha coming in from behind with the Lee Sin Dragon's Rage into a double kill. That just completely killed Impunity's strategy. They were pretty much drafting for one outcome and one path only. Once that avenue wasn't open to them, I don't think their comp could do much else, to be completely honest. They didn't really have a 5v5 comp. There wasn't a lot of late game to look forward towards, especially against the Zeri, and things just kind of fell apart from that point.
Yeah, one thing you can't take away from Impunity is that they will always try to keep things going. The problem is decision-making started to fall apart. Things looked a little bit faulty. They went for some suboptimal plays, and they just kept getting set further and further behind. I do think it turned out to be a bit of a mistake to give over both the Zeri and the Akali. But in the early game, they did find the openings. They did find the trades. I do like what we saw out of the first couple minutes. They just had to keep it up, and unfortunately, they kind of let themselves get a little bit baited out. I think Impunity are going to have to go back to the drawing board and figure out, like, all right, we need to not necessarily fall for the obvious bait a couple times in a row, and well, maybe they can do it in another game. But for right now, Beyond Gaming, very clean game number 1 for them. Really, really good to see, considering how much they were struggling against the likes of Deep Cross.
I do think Impunity at least have a very clear direction on what they want to do with this series. It's about shoring up their early game and at least giving themselves a chance to play through the mid game. As we talked about many times, Impunity's biggest weakness has just been that laning phase. And I think if we're going on this vein of thought here, they probably will hand over the Akali in future drafts as well. Ahri, much stronger in laning phase, but you can give them the Akali and give yourself the mid jungle priority throughout this series, and probably give Taco more of a carry champion to play through. So I think that's actually a really good idea on Impunity's side, and it does seem like Beyond Gaming are actually somewhat susceptible to this style of play. But again, it's just about bot side laning phase. You can't let those ganks happen if you're trying to go with an early mid-game strategy. You have to play extremely tight if you are trying to go with pure snowball.
Well, perhaps they can tighten those wrenches just a little bit and just make it work a little better for them. I think putting a lot onto Blaze seems to be a bit of a risk because he has been one of the weaker players in the league as far as the bot lane goes. But I think that also just says a lot more about the relative strength of our bot lanes here in the PCS. The problem is Wako and Kino just look too darn good. And even in the 2v2, after they turned it back on the trade that looked like it was going pretty well for Impunity, they critically didn't give over any kills. I feel like that would have changed the game so much, because once the Jinx starts getting excited, you roll off to a bit of an item lead and things can change. But it was very critical in those early moments, and Beyond Gaming were able to mitigate the few losses they had. Definitely a couple mistakes, some of those glimmers that we were seeing in the individual play. I think Liang definitely had a blunder early on up top, but he really recorrected after the fact. Got a little bit of help from Husha as well, and I don't think we'll see those mistakes going forward. It seems like this is a squad that really learns quickly.
Yeah, I feel like they don't even need to change like their first 3 picks. They probably just change R4 and R5 into something a little bit more stable. Pick the Leona for themselves. Don't go for the Vigar. Vigar is super feast or famine. I don't really like the Vigar all that much. I think you can pretty much accomplish the same things by just going for the Leona in that situation. And for R5, you know, pick a tank and give yourself some late game.
Yeah.
Beyond Gaming, their biggest throws have been to just straight up teamfight comps. Remember that DCG game where they were, you know, taking the inhibitor down at 18 minutes. They still lost the game because they just don't have an easy team fight to execute from front to back. So I feel like Impunity, they are on the right track. They could just probably tune down the risk versus reward ratio a little bit and be fine on this track.
Yeah, I think there's definitely some options to work with. I'd like to see Taco, maybe if he wants to go for a carry, maybe pick up something a bit more reliable like the Viego. We know that Quiet can play tanks. We've seen him on Scion a couple times this split already. I think there's even an opening to play something like an Ornn in this type of composition if they really want to just layer CC, right? There's a lot of choices. It just feels like, you're right, the end of the draft maybe got a little too creative. I also think the Zeri, while it didn't necessarily like snowball in lane or anything, I would like to see it still banned on the red side, but perhaps if Impunity choose blue in game number 2, they'll put that over onto Beyond Gaming and maybe get it for themselves if they get the chance.
That was something I was super surprised about because in my mind, Quiet definitely has the champion pool to deal with the Tryndamere, especially if he's getting last pick and he's on red side. So we'll pay attention to that in the upcoming drafts if that is going to be a weakness. To be honest, when Leon did get his Tryndamere against DCG, I was not particularly impressed. It didn't look like it was all that strong in this meta, and we do have to point out that Tryndamere has been suffering quite a lot. Like, you know, the counter picks, the Kennons coming out, the champions like the Arkshan in other leagues have not made Tryndamere all that appealing in the early game. So we'll see if that's going to be a case going into the next couple of games, but credit where credit is due. If you give Minji Azakali, he looks like an absolute boss. 2 kills early on, snowballed the game, and I really wonder if if I'm Impunity, I'm willing to give Minji his Akali because I feel like that gives me an early game avenue to play through. The question is, can Minji still find those pickup kills throughout the mid game every single time?
It's a risk, man. This is his 5th game on it in the season, and he hasn't lost on this champion. I get what you're saying, and you're not wrong, but I do feel like once he gets rolling, it's kind of hard to stop him. He's just dashing everywhere and not only dodging the kills, but setting them up for the rest of his team. He doesn't even have to be the one to secure them. Sure, the Ahri has been a little bit more reliable of late, but I still think it's definitely a risk. We'll have to see if Impunity agree as we are looking to get into game number 2 right after this break.